Attention all. This election will prove to be chaotic as conspiracy theorists, obstructionists, and hate mongers have all dedicated time and effort to ensuring that you do not exercise your right to vote and to make doing so as difficult as possible for you. To that end, I ask that you read through or listen to all of these tips, then share and follow them to ensure that you are not disenfranchised by those who are out to do harm. I encourage you to read or listen to this publication in its entirety before heading to the polls on Tuesday, November 5th. If you intend to vote by mail, ensure you have written the correct date on the outer envelope. A Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruling has determined that any ballots without a correct date will be tossed. League of Women Voters of Pennsylvania et al. Versus Philadelphia County Board of Elections et al. Ensure that the ballot is placed inside of the secrecy envelope, sealed, and then placed inside of the return envelope. Ensure that the ballot is mailed out before October 25th. What to bring to the polls: your mail-in ballot if you have not yet turned it in, a filled water bottle. The line may be long and there is no guarantee that there will be food or water available while you wait. Weather appropriate gear, an umbrella, a jacket, etc. Be prepared to be in line for a long time. Remember, do not leave the line for any reason. A black pen. Polling places are required to provide these, but should a situation arise, it is better to have your own. An index card. On this card, write down the exact spelling of any candidate's names whom you intend to write in. Misspelled names will not count for that candidate. The slate card, if desired. This is a card issued by your state's party with all of the party's candidate names on it. A cell phone with a working camera. You'll use this to gather evidence against anybody who may try to harass or assault you in the line, and to record any technical issues that may arise. Snacks. If you have medical issues that require you to have food on hand, or children who need a snack every 5 minutes, or adults who need one every 10, it will benefit you to have a few snacks in your pocket. Your official voter registration card. This is the only ID that you need to present to vote. You may instead choose to present a driver's license, a valid passport, or another form of ID depending on the state. Poll workers are not allowed to ask for a second form of ID past the voter registration card. Before you get to the polling place, have the local election hotline number saved and memorized. The number is 1-866-OUR-VOTE, or in number form 1-866-687-8683. Handy trick: write this number on your hand or arm with a Sharpie before leaving. Be prepared for a long wait. Use the restroom, eat a meal, and pack a water bottle before you head out. Do not wear any campaign materials. Depending on your state law, campaign signs are not allowed within a certain distance from a polling place. Certain states and municipalities classify political apparel as signage, and this will disqualify you from voting. Once you arrive at the polling place, do not leave the line at all for any reason. Federal law requires poll workers count every voter who was in the line prior to the 8 p.m. constitutional deadline. Do not answer questions from any outside individual. The only question you are required to answer at your polling place is, "What is your name?" from the person checking signatures at the entrance. This includes questions from police officers. You are not required to answer any questions from law enforcement. Do not give in to any individual harassing you. If you are targeted, call the Election Protection Hotline, 1-866-687-6863. If you are assaulted or in need of medical attention, call 911 or your nearest hospital. Record. If you are harassed or assaulted in line and you have called for assistance, record the attacker on video and audio if you are able. If the attack does not cease, This will be useful as evidence against the attacker later. Call for assistance first. Your safety is more important than extra evidence. Fight back. As a last resort, if a verbal warning and a phone call to the authorities does not quell an attacker, use reasonable force to quell the threat. Quote, my parents never taught me how to start a fight, but they made damn sure I knew how to end one, end quote. Once inside your polling place, do not answer questions from anyone other than the polling secretary. This individual will ask you for your name and, depending on the state, an ID. They may see the ID, they may scan the ID, they may not take the ID. Do not release control of ID to someone who you do not know if they are hostile towards you. If you have your mail ballot but you decided to vote in person, surrender your mail ballot to the poll worker. You then be allowed to vote by regular ballot. If the poll worker refuses to give you a ballot, stand your ground. You are legally entitled to a vote. If your request is still refused, call the Election Protection Hotline, 1-866-687-6863. If you encounter issues such as omission from the election record, request a provisional ballot. If this request is refused for any reason, demand one. If the poll worker refuses to give you a ballot, stand your ground. You are legally entitled to a vote. If your request is still refused, call the Election Protection Hotline, 1-866-687-6863. Do not leave until you have cast a ballot. You are entitled to a vote. It is your duty to ensure that your vote is counted. Do not leave the facility until you are confirmed that your ballot was submitted. Do not reveal your ballot choices to anyone inside. U.S. elections are secret ballot. No one, not even poll workers or watchers, is allowed to demand to know who you voted for. Remember, do not answer any questions, and if threats persist, call 1-866-687-6863. Ensure machine functionality. If using a voting machine and technical issues arise, do not leave the voting booth. Call for technical assistance from inside it. Once you leave the booth, election workers may choose not to let you re-enter. Conclusion. These tips are provided to ensure that your experience at the polls is as safe as possible, but to ensure that you have the tools necessary to thwart a threat to your civic right should the need arise. Please adapt these tools to fit your local area, and above all else, ensure your own safety at the polls. Your vote is important, but your safety is more important. When referencing ballots, I have referred to them as your ballot, your mail-in ballot, and the like. This choice of words is deliberate. It is to show that the ballot is yours, that you are entitled to it, and that no one should be given the opportunity to take it away from you. These tips are meant to protect the sanctity of your vote. This publication was written for the purpose of safety and voter education. Any individual is free and encouraged to share the contents in their entirety by any means desirable for the purposes of voter education and protection. All other rights are reserved. Copyright 2024. Please feel free to share this as necessary to anyone whom you think should hear it. This election will be the most important election of our lifetimes, and it is extremely important that we protect all of our rights to vote, especially when there are such dire attacks on our civic duties. Thank you so much for listening.